The government has called out the national reserves as civil unrest grips the nation this evening. 41 people have been arrested island-wide today in the worst case of civil unrest to rock Jamaica in many years.
Food and major commodities run low as Jamaicans remain locked inside. Several persons have been shot and injured or killed.
Shortly after 3, a single bullet pierced the chest of the 25-year-old expectant mother as she stood at the intersection of Grand Spain and the Shorted Roads. Her family was tugging at her lifeless body.
Hospitals, airlines and vendors hurting from the wound of violent protests. A team from the IMF, which is currently in Jamaica, is wrapping up a 4-day visit for a technical assessment of the country's financial situation.
The issue is to make globalization work for the benefit of all. There will not be a good future for the rich if there is no prospect for a better future for the poor.
Stay tuned to the details on these and other stories after the break. Baskin-Robbins, where the world goes for ice cream.
Rich man's wealth is in the city. Oh, destruction of the poor is our poverty. Lord, destruction of our soul is vanity. Well, do you hear? Naughty dread wonder if you hear. Whoa, I and I. We want to rule our destiny. Oh yeah, I and I. Jah will make you rule our destiny.
So the system set it, you know. For if them don't have you fighting against yourself, them go have trouble. For them see you unite within yourself. Them know so for them will get slacker. But when them can't get you struggling among yourself, them all is tighter. And that is all them set it.
If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him. By that the sun goeth down.
Countries in the world. Now them a have a little meeting, and them a plan to keep and oppress the poor. So them have a little meeting.
We would like to take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to all visitors to our beautiful island. We do hope you'll enjoy your stay here.
These countries want to stay on top, so they'll find any way. For them, third world people life, but a small price to be paid.
If you come to Jamaica as a tourist, this is what you will see. If you come by airplane, you will certainly land in Montego Bay and certainly not in Kingston.
Welcome to Jamaica. What will this must do? We're glad that you joined us. We'll be waiting for you. Welcome to Jamaica. Turn you alive and home. Welcome to Jamaica. Please feel it's your own. We're proud of Jamaica.
You are thinking of the hard and cold and long days you spent working, earning money so that you could stay in this place, Jamaica, where the sun must always shine, where the climate is deliciously hot and dry, at least for the 4 to 10 days you will stay here. You are indifferent to the fact that you can enter this country simply by showing your driver's license. You are indifferent to this fact because you can travel anywhere. The thought that a citizen of Jamaica would have to give an exhaustive account of how and why they have lived to visit your native country must never cross your mind. Since you're a tourist, you did not travel with stacks of cardboard boxes containing much-needed cheap clothes and food for relatives.
What do you have in your bags?
That has nothing to do with counting them, my dear.
You move through customs swiftly. You move through customs with ease. Your bags are not searched. On your way out of the airport, you stop to make an exchange of money.
Make it $2.50. Thank you. 20, please. How are you?
You are excited by the large sheaf of Jamaican dollars you get in exchange for your $20.
$1,850. I feel rich right now. How much does it cost for a shirt down here? An average. How much does it cost for a T-shirt down here?
You have not yet been to a shop to see how little your large sheaf of money can buy. It would not occur to you that the weakness of your newly traded money is a result of many devaluations imposed by the International Monetary Fund.
The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is urging Jamaica to reverse the declining fiscal deficit as a catalyst for economic growth.
To understand the International Monetary Fund, it is best to go back to history. We come to 1944. The war is coming near to an end. The Allies were determined not to have the war finish and end up in the mess of the 1930s.
At Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, delegates from 44 allied and associate countries arrived for the opening of the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference.
The key institution set up was the International Monetary Fund. And the purpose of the fund was to have a bank they could turn to for short-term borrowing to serve the short-term trading interests of the winners of the war.
United States Treasury Secretary Morgenthau heads the American delegation. To be discussed are plans for the stabilization of world currencies.
Same time they set up the World Bank to provide capital for the rebuilding of Europe. You have to remember what we now know as the Third World didn't exist. There were a few major powers, each of which had a large empire. We had no voice, we had no presence, you just were part of somebody else's power structure. You ask whose interest? Ask the question, who set it up?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, pleasant evening and welcome to my island home, Jamaica. Now, you'll realize that we drive on the left-hand side of the road. Might seem wrong, but the right side is suicide. All right, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Feel free to ask any questions. I am Kerry, and this is your driver, Finlet. Coming up on the left-hand side, we have Sandoz Royal Jamaica. Right here, we have the Butch Stewart, who is the sole owner.
You are driving on a road, and it is called the Queen's Highway. When it was built, we were ruled over by something called a queen. We do not have a queen anymore.
We have our very old McDonald's, Baskin Robbins, right on the left-hand side, right-hand side, I beg your pardon. So hey, we have it also in Old if you want to ever go for ice cream. So there you see, McDonald's.
When we wished for independence from Great Britain, we had something else in mind. We cannot now remember what that was. So you could imagine how I felt when one day driving on the Queen's Highway I asked myself, is the Jamaica that I see before me self-ruled, a worse off place than it was when dominated by the bad-minded English?
My government in the United Kingdom has laid down its responsibilities and has ceased to have any authority in and over Jamaica after more than 300 years.
Countries like Jamaica found that when they became free, they soon were in every kind of financial problem because they didn't have the economic strength to, shall we say, make it on their own. They needed time to build economies that could then make it in the world.
When you see what all the food from abroad costs, you realize that the food production to feed ourselves in Jamaica is not only a matter of opportunity for you, it's a matter of survival for the nation.
Comes 1973, there is a world convulsion caused by the oil price increases, all of a sudden we are having to find sums of money we had never dreamed of before just to make ends meet. Now, what can you do? First of all, you go to the private banking system and you see, well, can I get a private banking loan? Because I'm strapped for cash, I need some support, and I'm having trouble paying my overseas bills.
When the private banks won't lend to you, then you've got to do something if you're the leader of a country. And typically what you've got to do is to cut back your spending in some way and try and get more money so that the impact of those cutbacks are not as severe as they otherwise would be. And it's at that point that you generally come to the IMF.
We are not for sale. And tell them anytime they are willing to deal with an honorable Jamaica based on principles, sovereignty, pride and dignity, then we will talk the investment of the money.
Bear in mind, this is a country literally beginning to unravel because it cannot finance what it needs. Because you can't have no penicillin in the hospital. You can't have no wheat to make bread.
And we would say, yep, that's true. We understand the crisis you're in, and we need to fix the underlying reasons for that crisis. And so here is what we think needs doing.
What you really need is to sit down with them and say, look, can I work out a 5-year program? And in the meantime, I'm strapped for some cash, so can you help me up front get out of the cash bind and then put it in the context of a long-term development plan? And they said, no, long-term development is your problem. We are here only to see who do you owe the money to, why are you in a bind, and we'll lend you some money in a very short time frame at full interest rate to get you out of the bind. And they then impose upon you tremendous restrictions in what you can spend.
And then we reach agreement on a set of measures on the budget, on the exchange rate, on monetary policy, on interest rates, on banks, on maybe privatization, and say, yep, we think this could solve your problem.
And you say to them, but if I do it that way, when I finish repaying you, I'm going to be in the bind all over, because this can't solve my problem. This is not our problem.
Okay, this is the banana plantation. And you know the banana, they say just like a woman, takes 9 months for bearing.
You pass a building stranded in an acre of overgrown grass, and you think to yourself that its very existence must fall under the Department of Health. It is an outhouse, a public latrine. But when you look again, you see a sign that proclaims this building as a school. The sign says, Basic School. And what could that mean, a basic school? But before you can occupy yourself with this question, your heart skips a beat, for your driver has decided to overtake the car in front of him. It would cause your heart to skip more than a beat if you knew there was not a hospital nearby. That no new hospitals have been built in Jamaica for many years now should not concern you. You're on your holiday.
The whole idea was to set conditions which the government could not meet. And when the government failed to meet them, you would have to renegotiate a new loan in which the conditions became tighter. So the IMF didn't say, cut out this education program or cut out this health program. What the IMF said is, you must spend only so much money on health and education. And the implication of that was that you had to cut out some programs.
Essentially what the IMF wanted us to do was to devalue our currency. That's the first thing, to make our dollar cheaper.
They needed to expand their exports and diminish their imports. And the best way of doing that is to make foreign currency more expensive.
And since our society is so heavily dependent on imported food, imported fuel, imported books to go to school, imported medicine, when we devalue, the cost of those things we import go up to the citizens. And as a result, the economy today is much more under the control of foreigners, not necessarily through direct ownership, but through the mechanism of debt. In the 1970s, we owed $800 million. By the end of the 1980s, we owed $4 billion. Nowadays, we owe $7 billion. So the debt is rising, and all the time the debt is rising, our capacity to export, to produce, is getting less.
Revolution seems to be the only play. It may be an old-fashioned way of thinking.
Oh, but now you're tired of all this looking, and you want to reach your destination, your hotel, your room.
One day them dead, them not dead. One day them dead, them not dead.
Well, what we do is called the sunshine guarantee. Just in case the sun doesn't come out any at all for the entire day, you're entitled to a free day, or what we call a free night. And these are your room keys. The keys are coded. So yeah.
Oh, what beauty. You've never seen anything like this. You are so excited. You see yourself lying on the beach enjoying that amazing sun. A sun that is your personal friend, ready to stamp out any cloud that dares to darken your day. You see yourself eating some delicious locally grown food. You see yourself. You see yourself. You must not wonder exactly what happened to the contents of your lavatory when you flushed it. You must not wonder where your bath water went when you pulled out the stopper. For you see, Jamaica does not yet have a proper way of disposing of all its sewage. But the Caribbean Sea is very big, and the Atlantic Ocean is even bigger. It would amaze you to know the number of African slaves this ocean has swallowed up. When you sit down to eat your delicious meal, it's probably better you don't know that everything you're eating came off a ship from Miami. There is a world of something in this, but I can't get into it right now.
You guys on honeymoon, eh? Really shows much, alright? They're beaming, alright? Alright, guys. So when you go to the clubs or anywhere you go, you're going to drink with your keys on your arms, in your hair, on your legs, where we can see them. We'll go to the front desk, get your room number, take you home. You puke, no problem, man. Drink to your fill. You get totally intoxicated, it's no problem. You're on holidays.
Bounce. And from the bouncing, we're going to warm you up a little bit. First of all, our very first move we're going to be doing is moving the feet, just putting them forward, left and right, stepping forward. Here we go. Left and then right. Come on. Left and then right.
Farming, which is the backbone of our economy, so to speak, you find that the very farmers where farm them produce. Yet right now you have tons of cabbage a waste in Jamaica because goods coming in from America selling cheaper
than what produced
what can be produced here. Of course it is. So you find it's just extracting more than putting in.
The Jamaica that I knew, the Jamaica in which I grew up, is not the Jamaica that you, a tourist, would see now. That Jamaica no longer exists. That Jamaica no longer exists partly for the usual reason, the passing of time, and partly because of this new global economy.
Well, when you say the onion producing this year, you can look at every house or every yard that you see around here. Everybody, all young, middle age, involved in picking out onion, sowing onion, reaping onion, bagging up onion. So everybody was involved in the production in this district. But right now, it is just a trickle, just a brave one them.
When it's ready for harvesting, you see imported potato. right out in front of your home being sold. Potato that's grown in Idaho or New Brunswick or some other parts.
Hello? The shipment come every week, you know. Them can Irish, the US, the America, the one in Canada. And the red peas, we sell that America.
When I was a little boy, I grew. Everybody that you see around here, their livelihood was planting peanuts. All those days are over. Over and gone.
All this land is what we used to farm carrots. Now we cannot farm anymore. We don't got any market for it. Because through the foreign carrots.
It's an insult to our dignity of not being able to produce and sell in your own market at home.
This is a free market, and I've learned that because of the financial problem that the government is under with the World Bank and the IMF. They are the one who institute the pressure on the government as far as we learn. Now we had a thing named protective market. The government said no import. And then now we compete with one another. But for the time being, you're open to the world to compete with the world.
Before we was unable to bring in anything because of the policy of the country. But lately it changed.
The difference with the person who comes in from foreign with his trailer is that he has now been given legal right to bring it in. So I'm not fighting him. I'm fighting the policy maker, the person who is foolish enough to sign such a policy.
Some of the prescriptions an IMF program usually seeks to implement is to get countries to eliminate artificial barriers to trade. They will require a country with an IMF program not to impose artificial restrictions on imports and not to unduly subsidize exports.
So when the person brings on his trailer, whether he's in Kingston or up here, whether a farmer gets smart and get on the trailer line, he will fill his pocket of money. But what will happen to the other thousands of farmers? So you're fattening a few people at the expense of a whole culture that took years to build up. You destroy it with a stroke of the pen.
He holds the handle and you hold the blade. I mean, you know, if you want the money badly enough, then you have to agree to his terms. So ultimately, the IMF usually gets most of their own way.
Why did we think they should reduce trade barriers? The reason is that Jamaica is a very small country. It's not a country which could sort of thrive by producing only for itself. We believe very firmly that countries are going to grow better if they're integrated into the world economy, and that means reducing tariffs. And it needed to allow its importers, its people, access to goods from the rest of the world, rather than have them rely on this little economy.
Market vendors also complained about the large number of foreign fruits and vegetables on the market, saying all of the foreign foods were hurting their business.
The foreign Irish, the foreign carrot, the foreign ginger, everything full of the market.
But the supermarkets seem to be doing well with overseas produce, as they're being sold for less than the local produce. So you're saying that the foreign lettuce and carrots are less expensive than the local lettuce and carrot?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
When you open up the marketplace, those who are in a better position to take advantage of the market do so.
We import the spray, we import the fertilizer, we import the seed. So what we have to put in? Only sunlight and our impact. And if we use that right, we produce a better quality thing, but at a high cost.
The problem is that we are competing with an unfair situation. In the States, nobody hires money for over 10%. The lowest cost here now is 19%, and it can be as high as 40%.
In Washington, they just looked at us and said, no. Your inflation last year was 18%. And under the positive inflation rate theory of interest, that means we're not allowing you to lend your farmers our money, which we lend you. at 12%. You must charge 23%. I remember I took 2 trips, it was, to Washington to say, it is wrong economic policy, it is wrong socially, it is wrong to say that we must force the farmers to pay that rate of interest, or you won't lend us the money.
Typically, in an IMF program, there'll be some assumption about the way interest rates are going to go.
And I remember saying, which are you who are going to face an American farmer and tell him that to borrow something for his farm, he must pay 23%? I said, they'll run you out of the White House and out of Congress. Oh, that's their business. We are dealing with your business.
We use machine to farm, but the world in general use machine. So when you check it out, can machine compete with machine?
The farming section is nearly completely wiped out.
Anything that led to the more self-reliance on our resources was strongly discouraged because of this emerging ideology which we now call globalization.
My name is Tom Lipitsky. I'm with the United States Potato Board, and we represent about 6,000 potato producers in the United States. One of the markets which we found to be of very much interest is right here in Jamaica.
Get you up here, Mr. Harrison. There we go. Well, okay. Everybody say potato. Potato. Jamaican potato. Jamaican potato.
We had offers from Washington from some guys, a group of guys. We asked them what they wanted to buy from us, and there wasn't anything that they could buy from us. They just wanted to sell us potato seeds. We're not short of potato seeds. That's not our problem.
I'll give you a joke. You talk about get goods in the United States. I signed a contract to produce honeydew melon and cherry tomato. And you know what happened? Everything I send to the package, they turn it down, say it not reach the standard. They say don't package good. The size that we have is not meshing with their size. And the system went on so rotten with me that you know what I did? Discard it total.
NAFTA or whatever they call them, a free enterprise. They're not free, they flow like the Mississippi. It flows in one direction into the Gulf of Mexico. It never goes back up the hill. And whereas the Gulf of Mexico can absorb it, Jamaica cannot absorb the flow from Europe and from North America, all coming in on us. This is our country, our turf. Give us back our market. Don't try to force your idea on us.
But now you are finding that the thieves become more desperate. As a result, now we have, as farmers, have to be planning. And as I help you to see that we use the nail and the needle system. These pegs, they have needles. So when the thief come now to grab the scale and to haul it up, the needle hit the hand. I have learned from the Bible at 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1 that the last day here would be critical and hard to deal with. So I am looking for it to be hard. And I'm seeing it pelting me or pushing me right in our hard. But bear in mind the scripture said hard to deal with. It's not to say can't deal with.
We do rule under the government, but the government not seeing the things to help the people, or to do the things to help the people. What they are doing between the American government and the Jamaican government is to still join hands and hand to oppress the poorer class of people more than more.
But what really beat our government still is just the money where they want, and doing busy with the term. That really go with the money.
The terms and conditions.
And conditions that go with the money. It's on to the money. It's we are so poor that these rich people use their money to really just push their money before like it's a gift. But it's really a trap.
We have this dairy farm has been going from in the early 40s. My father farmed here before me. It was on a continual rise in production.
The industry flourished from 18 million litres a year to over 30. I think we peaked at around 34 million litres in 91.
In 1992, the government entered into an agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank for a loan of about $50 million US, which was to support agriculture and manufacturing. The conditionalities of those were that we should abandon any form of local subsidies, and we should abandon any control of the imports of milk powder, meats, and what have you.
Almost always when the IMF is lending to a country, a developing country, we'll be making loans, the World Bank will be making loans, and if it's in the Americas, the Inter-American Development Bank, which is a regional counterpart of the World Bank, will be making loans.
So, you couldn't get World Bank unless IMF gave you the bill of health, and you couldn't get IMF unless the World Bank gave you a bill of health, and you couldn't get either unless the Inter-American Development Bank gave you a clean bill of health. Cross-conditionality. That is when they finally had you by two nooses by the neck.
And because we're working together in that country, we have to make sure we're not working at cross purposes. So we will generally agree on what needs to be done.
In conjunction with the loan agreement, and at the same time, the World Trade Organization signed off all the member countries into this new world order of trade. This new world order means that there will be no government regulation in the trading of any commodities.
They're telling you that, well, look, if we lend you $50 million, in return you have to lower all your trade barriers, and you have to compete with us on a level playing field. Well, that is all double talk.
It was at this time that the competition from reconstituted milk started to get severe.
We ended up with having an influx of powder which destroyed the dairy industry. Powder became normal form of milk consumption, and the dairy industry was unable to sell their fresh milk.
Frank Quarry says he's been supplying fresh milk to Century Farm Products for 15 years. After last Sunday's collection, he says he was told that the company had too much milk and would not collect any more for an indefinite period. So on Friday, with nowhere to take 5 days worth of milk, he had to get rid of it.
Dairy cows have to be milked twice a day, every day, 365 days a year. So yesterday and today's milk, if it's not collected, you have to pull the bung and let it out in the drain.
This farm produced about 3,000 imperial quarts of milk per day. We are now down to just about 600 liters per day. The animals that we lost represented a lot of hard work from a lot of pioneers, my dad included, and it obviously was a very, very difficult decision to make when we decided to convert them into hamburger meat. It's incredible how are we able to get reconstituted milk in Jamaica for less than fresh milk when it has to be produced at a greater cost than fresh milk. It is because it is just one of a product mix in countries where they price some products to carry others, and it's really just their huge surpluses.
In certain areas, the Americans subsidize their exported milk powder 137%. Now nobody can compete with that.
The end of day result will mean that we have no national food security, and that when milk powder finds its real cost, where there are no subsidies in the first world, in Europe or North America, it will be more expensive than the milk that we currently produce. What do we do in the meanwhile? We go out of business.
It is unlikely when the milk powder gets beyond the reach of most Jamaicans, that we'll be able to restart a dairy industry then.
So between the government of Jamaica and the IMF and the Inter-American Development Bank, we ended up with these policies. Ultimately, I suppose our government have been visionless and weak-kneed.
Three. We're going to set you free. Here we go, Shirley. 1, 2, 3. Looking for the biggest splash this afternoon. Oh my goodness, that is indeed a big splash. Come on everybody, let's give it up for the man.
Jamaica is beautiful. Jamaica is too beautiful. Sometimes the beauty of it seems unreal. Sometimes the beauty of it seems as if it were stage sets for a play. For no real seawater could strike that many shades of blue at once. No real day could be that perfectly sunny and bright. And what might it do to ordinary people to live in this way every day? You taste a delicious Jamaican-grown banana for the very first time. You wonder how it is that you've never tasted such a sweet banana before.
Daylight come and me want go home. Work all night and a drink a rum. Daylight come and me want go home. Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight come and me want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me want go home. A beautiful bunch, a ripe banana. Daylight come and me want go home. Hide the deadly black tarantula. Daylight come and me want go home. Live 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and me want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and me want go home. That is a day.
I actually was born in a banana farm for over years, and I've been doing banana for all these years. Until lately the WTO ruling has affected the industry.
I've been handling banana from in the early 60s, and recently I'm not really exporting now because of the situation, the way they treat us.
We produce or export, and we would love to continue export to the fullest.
Jamaica produces at the moment in the region of 90,000 tons of bananas, all of which go into the UK, and that is our market.
Europeans who had colonies in the past thought it good, let us put it that way, that they should help these colonies to overcome some of their difficulties, to get them ready for new technology, to get them ready for the future. Under the Lomé Agreement, this is an agreement between ACP countries, African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, with the European Union. And the ACP countries enjoyed certain privileges because of their colonial past, and these countries in Europe feel that they should be able to give back something to the colonies in order to help them to take their rightful place in this world. As far as the banana trade is concerned, we have in Europe a guaranteed market, tariff-free.
The Americans, and to be brutally frank, I think it's Mr. Linda and his millionaires at Chiquita, are pressuring the ex-colonial countries through the WTO
to get the WTO to agree that these preferential rates are unconstitutional and against the WTO regime.
The United States don't produce any bananas. The multinationals have set up their government to protest at the level of the WTO and affect the lives of a lot of people in the ACP countries.
On the worrisome banana issue and the recent World Trade Organization ruling, President Bill Clinton assured the Caribbean that his country did not act to the detriment of the Caribbean.
Pursuing and winning our case at the World Trade Organization, our target was a discriminatory European system, not the Caribbean nations. I made it clear that as we work toward a solution with our European partners, we will continue to support duty-free access for Caribbean bananas in the European market, and we will seek ways to promote diversification of the Caribbean economies.
We have no access to the American market. The access we have is to Europe and to England in particular, and that is what Chiquita and the US are trying to kill at this stage. Big companies which are American owned, Chiquita, Dole, and they already control 95% of the world market in bananas. But these companies want the whole hog.
Chiquita, Dole, Del Monte, all of this banana is being grown in Latin America. Life in Latin America is at the will of the master who owns these plantations.
Salaries for the workers are pitiable low. In one instance I made to understand, so it's $1 per day. And nobody can exist on that sort of thing. Surely you will be able to produce cheaper bananas at that rate, but at what cost, socially and morally?
Por los efectos del humo de las bombas lacrimógenas, también comenzaron a ser capturados.
Some Chiquita banana workers went on strike. They were literally forced to go back to work with a gun. 23 people were killed. There are no unions.
Our bananas cost us more to produce than the South American bananas. It actually cost us $11 to produce 40 pounds of our bananas, while it cost them $5 to produce that said 40 pounds. We are unable to match the price of the South Americans.
Well, in the past, things was very bright with us. But in the present right now, things low because the production gone down very low.
2 years ago, we had about 150 workers. Today, it's about 15 workers on the farm. My farm in particular, we have been trying to find investors to increase our capital over the last 2-3 years. But especially since the adverse WTO ruling, nobody will touch bananas. The banks won't invest in it, private investors won't invest in it, because the future looks dim.
The farmer here is, banana was on top, banana was good. We could call it green gold in those days, because a farmer could export his banana. He could have a nice dwelling, he could have a car, but no, you just can't, you just living on survival now. No
All we can do, we can plant the banana because we love to plant, right? But we can't sustain our children without banana anymore. And that is the reason, one of the main reasons we find the young man on the street now, looting and shooting, because the parents can't help them anymore. Because banana, just banana, we used to think of to send our children to school.
We would like to have some better things going for us here than for us to be cut out completely out of the market here in Jamaica.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I must say welcome to Jamaica.
Thank you.
My name is Gene. All right, I'm gonna be your driver today. Yeah, man. Must say enough respect, you know? Yeah. First time in Jamaica?
Yes.
Where are you from?
Chicago.
Chicago?
California.
All right.
England.
Okay, I know you're driving the lift also. All right. All right. First day on the job for me. Tomorrow I go for my driving test. The highest mountain we have is the Blue Mountain, 7,402 feet high, and that's where you get the best coffee. And it's the best in the world. That's the Blue Mountain coffee.
Sister Kalanje, blessed love, keeps burning on and on. They've been yearning. Rather than one Babylon, give them a right, pay them money, get them funny, and then brainwash them on them western journey. Babylon, give them a right, for the money, get them funny, and then brainwash them on them western journey. Well, judgment, well, this weather than red. We out this weather, be a blood that run red, go tell them revolution, that swing over them head, be all.
You decide to venture from the sanctity of your tropical compound. You see natives. You marvel at the things they can do with their hair, the things they fashion out of cheap twine or ordinary cloth.
You having a good time?
Squatting on the side of the road, hanging out with all the time in the world. You might look at them and think, they're so relaxed, so laid back. They're never in a hurry.
You get a right for your money, get your money, and then brainwash up on your western journey. Babylon, give them a right for the money, get them funny, and then brainwash them on their western journey.
Every native of every place is a potential tourist, and every tourist is a native of somewhere. Every native would like to find a way out. Every native would like a rest. Every native would like a tour. But some natives, most natives in the world, cannot go anywhere. They're too poor to escape the realities of their lives, and they're too poor to live properly in the place where they live, which is the very place that you, the tourist, want to go. So when the natives see you, the tourist, they envy you. They envy your own ability to leave your own banality and boredom. They envy your ability to turn their own banality and boredom into a source of pleasure for yourself.
Try reach whenever you drop off and strain. Appointed under 19, get to use them ordained. Mr. Fill up the youth, them on the fist of what we find. Words without words can't sustain. And Mr. Fill tell you this one you are no game. Stop calling parapsil, I sing them in a vine. Check it out, I know them live down the line. Babylon, give them a right, pay them money, get them funny, and then brainwash them on them western journey.
He's off, and he's going, oh my goodness, smooth. And he's up to his second beer in a minute now, and it's all gone. Come on, everybody, let's hear it for Drew. Chuck, Chuck, Chuck. Oh boy. Oh! Oh! Oh boy. It is gonna be, oh my goodness. Try to remain on your feet now. Oh boy! Come on everybody, give it up for John!
Now you employ 4 workers. How much a week do you pay the workers? How much do you gain per day out of the workers? So all what you gain been going away and nothing been staying in the country. So the country been getting poorer and poorer. And the people be getting more frustrated, more than more.
Like in the free zone, where we term the slave zones, you find the average worker is working far less than what that company would have paid a worker in America.
We got
The free zone is an era. I would consider it to be like a state, not a country.
We sew, we put all the label, we trim.
I was sewing the pocket.
The free zones came into Jamaica in the 1980s. The U.S. government decided on a Caribbean Basin initiative with the idea of creating a lot of employment at the lower level basis. The Caribbean Development Bank gave some money, the World Bank gave some money in order to build the actual structures. The government is paying back the loan on all the free zones. This will take some time.
All the materials for this production process come in trailers from the United States. These materials consist of cut parts that are cut in the U.S., made in the U.S., and put in bundles. This also involves importation of elastic and trim and thread and all the components. This product is made of 100% USA-made material, and we only assemble it in Jamaica.
Thread and materials. Then take them from abroad and don't buy them in Jamaica. Them say they don't want to spend their money in Jamaica.
You must do the collars or the sides or you do the shoulder part. You must finish about 10 bongo for the day.
I was doing the Tamil figure. I was on that section.
So for Tamil figures, Brooks Brothers,
Them do like Tammy, Brooks Brothers, Richard, and Mark Alexander Sports.
I don't know how much them really get for a shirt, but I hear that them get a good amount. When I was first employed, I heard that we were to get the money in the U.S., but the government said no, they must change it out and give us it in Jamaican because they need the U.S., the country need the U.S.
They're able to come in for a number of years without paying certain taxes.
The free zone operates in the theoretical thing that it's not even part of Jamaica. It is a separate entity. So the goods come in a container and go through guarded gates. After it leaves the free zone, it goes back onto the ship, never in effect having touched the shores of Jamaica. So those factories are not liable to local controls. They're not liable to things like income tax or certain duties, taxes, anything like that. The free zone is to give the opportunity of people to operate without the controls or the laws or the systems that normally govern a country's operation.
If you get the color to sew, you have to sew the 600. If you don't sew the 600, you know that you don't get to pay for that.
A lot of pressure, because they pressure you a lot. They tell you have to go fast, fast, fast. Salary that we get in Jamaica, so you have to work 5 days a week for the week to get 1,200 Jamaican dollars, which is valued 30 US dollars.
My salary, I receive $1,500 in the US, that is $30 US dollars every 2 weeks.
And when you look at that, I'm sure there's nowhere in the US where people's basic pay or minimum wage is $30 per week.
This is my payslip for the second week, and they're drawing out education tax, NIS, NHT, for the health insurance.
And you used to pay like NIS, educational tax and stuff like that, but apparently they wasn't paying it. It was just taking that money. Because when I check it out, I wasn't paying any tax, but it was being drawn.
You have to buy a lunch for $75, a drink for $25. Sometimes you come home nothing.
Persistent complaints about work conditions at the Kingston Free Zone led our news team this morning to investigate complaints against one factory there.
The fine line workers stopped working on Monday, accusing the government of being co-conspirators in the exploitation of free zone labor by foreign companies. They say the problem began in January of last year when their pay suddenly began to be issued 2 weeks late, 3 weeks late, sometimes longer.
How can that happen? No government. We don't have any government. We don't have nobody to stand for.
Fine Line is owned by a larger company, Schweitzer and Associates, based in Alexandria, Virginia, USA.
They were promised that the workers would not be unionized. They would not allow unions to come in.
You can't talk to nobody. You can't eat. You can't get up to go bathroom. They're watching you. Miserable. It's like you're working under slavery.
We thought that people get fired and them not taking on anybody to work in the next year.
And then they bring in the Chinese to back it up, to back up the Jamaicans. And they treat the Chinese better than us.
There are even more problems in the island's garment sector this evening, with production at one factory all but stalled.
Thursday, when our news team arrived, it seemed like a ticking bomb finally saw a chance to explode.
East Ocean Company brought in a lot of Asian workers, I think maybe up to 800 people.
These workers are brought in hundreds, and they live in what we consider to be a camp situation. So they're all housed in one place.
We were not allowed into one of the main factories, but our camera caught a glimpse of the interior. The Jamaican workers say the women who started coming in from earlier this month are given more overtime work and hence more money.
Them don't object to nothing because they are get paid in US. Meanwhile, Jamaican get paid in Jamaican currency.
Can the government afford this influx of foreign workers when the Great Free Zone promise was to alleviate those very same unemployment problems?
Obviously, we're trying to provide employment for Jamaicans, not Asians. They claim that they couldn't get the people in Jamaica with the skill level that they needed for that job.
If the government asks them to give us more, probably they would close down the factories and go to Mexico, because most of them gone to Mexico because them say they are cheaper labor.
You know, these companies are very aggressive to make profits, and they're accountable to their shareholders. So they basically just went, you know, they're in a position to move the production to areas that are, you know, cheaper for them.
I worked there for 15 years, and they fired me for low production. See, I'm not doing enough. They want me to draw 1,000 and I couldn't go up to it.
The free trade and NAFTA agreements have impacted initially very badly on Jamaica.
We have lost, I think, 18,000 jobs.
It's getting worse, sir. More factory closing down.
Low-wage jobs do move or gravitate to low-wage areas. This is happening throughout the world, especially with the new order.
The garment factory on Marcus Garvey Drive has thrown over 400 workers into a tailspin.
2 weeks ago, the workers received a letter which stated that the factory would be closing temporarily for restructuring. Allegations flew that the Asian managers had dismantled and sold the factory equipment and packed their bags in preparation for a hasty departure. The factory will not reopen tomorrow, and the majority of workers have not been paid.
The government built the factory with loans from international agencies like the IMF and the World Bank. They're still paying out the loans.
The government is now paying us 52 cents out of every dollar that it collects in interest payments on debt. At least 48 cents to do everything else.
The interesting thing is that even though the loans are being paid back now, at a higher interest rate really because of the exchange rate, more factories are closing and more people are out of jobs. So I don't see the purpose, the real purpose has not been made.
Them say free zone is for the poor, but I don't see it.
I better them close down the zone, make we organize something for ourselves and sell the product out here. I feel say it would be much better.
Over 500 workers have been added to the unemployment line as Haynes Jamaica Limited ended today the weeks of speculation and officially announced that, yes, it was closing its Hanover plant.
A real breakthrough in combating poverty can only be achieved
if these countries build up the fundamentals for growth and gain access to the investment capital of the international markets.
But private capital is not going to come in and help you with your infrastructure, to help you develop an adequate educational system, to help you develop a good health system. Private capital is not going to come and take a chance on developing your agriculture so that you can really do a lot of the feeding of yourself. It is understandably only interested in how can it make a quick, safe buck. And no quarrel. What else would it be interested in?
The question of where is the power in the IMF, first, the votes of each country are in proportion, roughly, to its size in the world economy. So the US has just over 17.5% of the vote, because it's the biggest economy in the world. And Japan has the second most votes, and Germany the third. So in that sense, the US is by far the biggest single voice.
To change anything in the IMF, you need 80% of the vote. And I think the United States and Western European countries control more than 80% of the vote, which means that you can't change anything in the IMF unless you get their approval.
Them and them economical plan still can't find a solution. Borrowing money for lend. World Bank and our friend. Is life and death, all are we afraid. Life and death, freedom not yet. Farmers get a blow, foreign food so and so. American farmers get a upper hand, while our farmers going one by one. Bank crash, pay slash, news flash. Big boy item stash. No money, no job. Borrowing money for lend. Capitalism and our friend.
Look at every IMF country today and tell me which has a really good hospital service, which has a good educational system, which has anything. All of them were trapped in that old colonial crisis of finance.
Life and death.
Nowhere else to go to but to the IMF and the World Bank. They found it viable enough and came to our assistance. I think in dealing with people like the IMF and the World Bank, it's important that you do your homework so well that you don't take to them a plan where they dictate to you what to do.
They were not created by an international body that included the interest of developing countries.
Haiti is a country where we live with less than $250 per capita. That means if you just follow the structural adjustment program without thinking on the economic situation of the people, you will just collect money to pay the interest of the debt and not investing in people.
No more blind faith. We need food in our plate. Look how long we are sweat. Too much foreign debt.
Those who are responsible of those institutions, they may have goodwill, quote unquote, but the results are telling so many others that it's not what we have. As a matter of fact, why do we have today 1.3 billion people in the world living with less than $1 a day?
Those who control affairs have no interest in whether you are self-sustaining. They are doing their work, their duty. If the pressures that they put force you to a greater dependence on foreign capital.
No money, no job.
So you see, it's not as simple as capital coming in. What kind of capital? And does the capital help you to become self-sustaining?
Is life and death.
McDonald's could be using so many products grown in Jamaica, like Irish potatoes and seasoning and vegetables. In other words, what they do is import all these things.
So that is how them strangle the small governments, them coming in like them building but really breaking down more than all them building.
The case was very important because it was the first case in Jamaica dealing with the
the effect of globalization in that commercial respect. U.S. McDonald's claimed that the Jamaican company was passing off its business as theirs. By using the name McDonald's, they would cause people to think that they were really a branch of the U.S. company. And the Jamaican company insisted that they were here first and had been here for over 20 years using the name. The U.S. company claimed that by opening offices here, they would provide employment, they would purchase stock and raw materials from local producers, and they would therefore help the economy. They placed great emphasis on the size of their advertising budget. They spent billions of dollars worldwide promoting the name. And they argued that that gave them, in all countries that received U.S. satellite TV, that had U.S. magazines on sale, people in that country would necessarily know about McDonald's and associate the name with that company. The simple aspect was that the nature of the Jamaican operation was such that it would confuse no one.
On today's menu, we have curry goat, roast beef, fish and chips, chicken and green peas.
They sold, to a large extent, traditional Jamaican fare. The judge refused to close down the Jamaican company. And that did create some pressure because Chamber of Commerce and similar people who were calling us to say, you're keeping out business and you're preventing the development of the economy.
It's a question of what's fair for the citizens of that country. If they're working and they're manufacturing and they're producing, why shouldn't they have the right to buy things that other people have in the rest of the world?
You know, there's just Burger King and Kentucky Fried and pizza and just all of the things of mass consumption in American society. In a society that does not have a productive base to sustain this.
McDonald's started talking to us about 3 years ago. This facility, which cost us $40 million to upgrade, was put in place to facilitate people like McDonald's and Burger King, increase our production and make patties that they wouldn't have to be importing them. McDonald's have asked us to supply them with a HACCP plan. We have done that. We have made burgers for them, which they have sampled and found to be okay. In fact, the taste has been much better than the ones they had imported, but we still have not been able to supply them.
Beef farmers from several parishes who've been hurting from the importation of less expensive meat today vented their frustrations against fast food giant McDonald's.
Yeah, well, I've been in farming from 1977. And I've never had a problem in all those years selling cow until last year. Although these animals should have been sold from December. We just can't sell them. In America, you wouldn't find cows grazing the pasture like this. They are injected with an anabolic steroid known as stilbestrol. We can't use stilbestrol here, it just doesn't come into the country. But it's being used on farms abroad. So when the people are consuming imported beef, they're really exposing themselves to cancer-causing agents.
We had a case where one of the local businessmen thought it'd be a good deal if he could buy some chicken cheap. When they came up with an idea that they would import some chicken. This chicken, it turns out upon examination, was I think about 20 years old. When we determined that, yes, it was not for human consumption, he tried to convince us that the shipment only came here accidentally, and that the shipment was in fact for Haiti, and that we should release it back into his custody so he could send it on to Haiti.
I been in America. I never seen nowhere in the store where them sell chicken back. But yet I see it leave America and come to Jamaica.
Well, it's from slavery, you know. Remember, slavery was that the master would eat what he considered the better part. And then the slaves would get the refused. So the back and the neck and the tail and the foot and all these things is like a third world country, a dumping ground.
A very interesting thing in the US poultry market has been the development of the passion for white meat. Obviously, if you take the breast meat off a chicken, you're left with the dark meat, the leg and the thigh, and the neck and the back. As a consequence, there is more and more of the dark meat, which is imported from the United States of America. And that has really been the threat to our market at this point. When the cost of producing a pound of breast chicken meat in the States is very likely about 50 cents. It was being offered to Jamaica as low as 20 cents a pound. This had a traumatic effect in terms of our local industry and our ability to compete. There's no doubt that the markets in our region have been targeted by the US industry in terms of penetrating and supplying those markets at the detriment to the local industry and the possible loss of jobs.
The labor dispute involving management and workers who were made redundant at the Jamaica Broilers Spring Village plant in St. Catherine turned nasty today. Over 200 chicken farmers who've been suffering losses since the shutdown of the plant protested to bring attention to their plight. Former workers demonstrating outside the plant clashed with the police, resulting in an all-out brawl in which a number of persons were injured and a vehicle belonging to the plant set on fire. Mr. Wildish noted several initiatives had been taken without success to achieve international competitiveness.
We're told that we've got to find areas we can compete. And we say, what? What are these niche markets that we're meant to be going after? They tell us, well, peppers and spices and these things, you should be able to grow those efficiently, and you do have tourism.
Karen, you are right in the white. Glenn, you are right in the green crab. And Robin, you are right in the yellow. So on the count of three, we're going to set the crabs free. Remember, no sudden movements. 1, 2, 3. All right. Everybody is up, but the red is in the lead now just by 2 crab lengths, and it could be stopped in the middle. The yellow hasn't moved up to now. We don't know what's happening with him. The white has now taken over the lead. The green is still on the go. The green is still on the go. Patricia is coaching her crab. So the white crab is the winner of that race.
Up to you to tell us who you think has the best tan. You can see Scott is well tan. So Tim, turn around so that everybody can see your tan. Huh?
Nobody said compete against Guy.
Oh, never mind you.
Circumstances made me what I am. Was I born a violent man?
When I got here, we had about maybe 120 guards. Today we're probably about 1,900 guards. We have 300 dogs, and we have branches all over the island.
It sounds strange, might sound foolish, but things are getting better. Every day another fall victim to the beret.
Is it a growing industry? I would say yes, it is. I mean, with the high crime rate, you know, there's always a need to protect life and property. We do work for the hotels, all the homes, we do home protection and so on.
Circumstances made me what I am. Was I born a violent man?
The violence caused a lot of death. And the violence. Without the violence, you wouldn't have so much people really dead still, you know. I met the first of them for about 30 years. About 30 years. Met the first one about 2 years ago now. I started to make the coffin them. The furniture thing kind of get slow like. But you know what to sell.
And in the end, you know, you struggle, you survive, and much suffering later, I suppose you slowly begin to come out the other end. But the country that comes out is nothing like the country that it could have been.
Undeniably, globalization has provided enormous opportunities for growth investment and transfer of know-how and technology.
Where does Jamaica stand now is interesting. Incidentally, there is an IMF program with Jamaica at the moment. We're not lending them money, but we have what's called a staff-monitored program.
We don't have an IMF agreement. We are following what the IMF would have wanted us to do on an agreement anyway. So the influence of IMF is still very much here. We're not getting any IMF money, but we're still doing what they want us to do.
Tonight there are violent protests over higher taxes and fuel prices in Jamaica.
As many as 6 people have been reported killed in the unrest that is sweeping across that Caribbean island.
It escalated in the past 24 hours, an 18-year-old dead at this home. The jump in the gas tax is hard in a country with many poor. The government defends it as a way to pay for bank failures, but now suggests there may be room for compromise.
Righteous teaches many, but fools die for want of wisdom. The rich man's wealth is in the city.
And to this day, the crisis in the UN, if you want to know, is the continuing demand of the so-called third world for a voice in strategic IMF policies so that they become sensitive to our interests.
Fixation of the soul is vanity. Destruction of the poor is their poverty. The poor man's wealth is in a holy, holy place. Why do you fight each other? Why do you kill your brother? Then your reward will be the same.
It was a terrible experience. You're just constantly, it's like you're just living a walking contradiction every day of your life. So you can imagine that we eventually had to go to them and eventually had to sign an agreement with them. It was really one of the bitter, traumatic experiences of my public life.
Jamaica was discovered by Christopher Columbus in 1493. Not too long after, it was settled by human rubbish from Europe, who used enslaved but noble and exalted human beings from Africa to satisfy their desire for wealth and power. Eventually, the masters left, in a kind of way. Eventually, the slaves were freed, in a kind of way. Of course, the whole thing is, once you cease to be a master, you're no longer human rubbish. You're just a human being, and all the things that adds up to. So too with the slaves. Once they are no longer slaves, once they're free, they are no longer noble and exalted. They are just human beings.
It's not enough for one man once. There's enough to feed the people in the world. Man must share
For Jaja loving He cares for everyone. It's not enough for one man once. There's enough to feed the world. So be still, Babylon.
We must put our faith in the Most High, that He will not desert us or permit us to destroy humanity that He created in His image. We must look deep within ourselves, into the depth of our souls. We must become something we have never been, and for which our education and experience and environment have ill-prepared us. So we know our salvation rests in the hands of the Almighty. For them give we basket, we go carry water. For them give we basket, we go carry water. Earthquake, lightning and thunder. For them give we basket, we go carry water. Oh, Rastafari, oh, Jesus.
The economic basically for us doing this plantation is to suffice people who cannot buy the colorless and other things for dearer price than we doing it. We're trying to make ourselves self-reliance and self-production, like we're planting colorless lettuce, we want onion, beets, carrots and other protein, but the land is too small for us, and we have forceful people who will put out the production. And in the country, if the government look for people like forceful people like us who will put out production, we can have our own thing to supply our own country. So we'll have a basic forceful people.
If you come to Jamaica as a tourist, this is what you will see.
And next man you are deep in pan. Well, you're wrong. Nobody want to plant the corn. Everybody want to read the band. I've seen you on a song can't compete with Kelly's John. I was looking at start just a little ease off. No one would help me push that old and can't them a laugh. Never take me serious. So many goals and tasks, potholes I pass every day. My Lord, I have to pray on my way. Them never realize with a little cooperation we could have unify, relieve the frustration. Instead them want to ride up on them bread about no tears, no cares. If him evil did stop our job, nobody want to plant the corn. Everybody want to read the barn. Who you are go blame it on when he's our next man? You are deep in pan. Well, you wrong. Nobody want to plant the corn. Everybody want to read the band. You happy sing your own a song, can't compete with Kelly's John. I feel pleased when I take a little ease from a long hard day of work. A sense of achieving to know I'm contributing, doing my part. Ooh, this is my comfort. I know there is a reward for every trying man who walk this land with an intention to do good for himself and every man. Just a meditation. Nobody want to plant the corn. Everybody want to read the band. Who you are go blame it on when he's a next man? You are deep in pan. Well, you're wrong. Nobody want to plant the corn. Everybody want to read the band. Happy sing you own a song, can't compete with Kelly's John. Well, I've been up from early this morning. Never drink no tea, me never eat no fried dumpling. Never seen no one to straighten me on me journey. No me make a change, all of them want fi friend me, want fi take it all. No mind if me stall, them no business if me back against the wall. This a living sometime making me ball. Seems like there ain't no love after all. Nobody want no plant the gun. Everybody want to read the band. Who you are go blame it on when it's a next man you are depend on. Well you wrong. Nobody want to plant the gun. Everybody want to read the band.